This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 362 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by TotalSaddleFit.com, Kentucky Performance Products, Dr. Rose's Remedies, and EcoVet. Today we have Katie Poag join us from Omaha as she prepares to compete there in the CDI 4-Star. Beth Hayes helps us with some bidding questions, and we have some tips about being a coachable rider.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show. Hi, Reese. How you doing?
Hey, Phil. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I want to know how the excitement of Rolex was.
Well, it was great shopping. I'm not going to lie. I put a little hurt in my wallet on Thursday last week.
Okay.
And then I had a great dinner with Glenn and Jennifer. Travis and I, we went out. We have always now, it's becoming a tradition. And it was great to see them. You know, I got to see them in Florida and spend some time with them there, but it's always fun to see them here. And then I was honestly not here for the weekend, which was kind of good because it poured rain on Saturday. And so sadly, I did not have to go walk cross country in the pouring down rain.
That's okay then.
Yeah, no, but it was very good. I ended up going to a family friend's wedding, and we had a lovely time I went with my mom, so I had a very, very good time with her. So I did bug out of the horse event a little bit early, but definitely don't worry, I got my shopping time in.
And what about it's Derby week? Everybody should be talking about the race, huh?
It is, and you know what? I've been kind of busy this week, so I have my head in the sand. So I am not actually sure. Phil, do you have a Derby pick?
I've been hearing a lot of buzz. What's the Nyquist horse?
Yeah, and I think he's kind of naughty.
It's a bad horse.
Yeah, he's kind of bad. So
that's a good winner.
But that's a good start, good thing. So yeah, if anybody has any picks for the Derby, put up on our Facebook page. We would enjoy that.
You're supposed to be our Derby insider.
I'm the worst.
Going around to the farms and talking the buzz. And...
Oh, but Phil, I haven't left my farm in a week.
How am I going to make any money?
Not this.
Not this year.
Okay, I apologize, everybody. I'll try and get my Derby pick up on the Dressage Radio Facebook. Phil, you too. You're actually better at betting. And Travis.
Yeah, but I normally would do so much research, and actually I've been so crazy this week.
I know, that's kind of me too.
I know. But yes. I gotta bet it, right? It's my birthday.
Yes, it's your birthday.
The Derby's on my birthday again this year. So
I know. How lucky are we again? So we gotta maybe drive your bet in and get it done.
Yeah, maybe you can put it in for me because the prize pool is way bigger in the States than it is in Canada.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. You're right. So we'll put a bet in for you for your birthday.
Okay. I'll text you.
Perfect.
All right. Well, what do we got going on? We got a little bit of dressage news.
Yeah, we do.
We're going to be talking about Omaha, Nebraska this week.
I know. We have. There's the test event for the World Cup being held next year.
2017 World Cup is in Omaha, Nebraska.
Nebraska.
We got some friends showing there this weekend. That's kind of cool.
We have like 3 or 4 really good friends of our show and good friends of Phil and I's showing. So Katie Poag is coming on. She's a friend of our show for sure.
They're probably showing as we record here, aren't they?
They are there. I think they're actually in the ring. They started at 6 and it's about 7:36 our time. So
Lawrence Spreitzer's on there.
Amanda Johnson, Katie Poag.
Yeah, this is awesome.
A lot of our friends are showing, so we wish them very, very good luck. And it's cool to see the venue. And Katie, it's really interesting. She'll talk a little bit about there being a test for the FEI degree of difficulty and how they're doing that.
Technology going on with that, computer stuff.
I know.
So that's
very
cool.
fun. Yeah. Cool. And there was a release today. The U.S. Developing Dressage Grants were awarded. These are for young riders or under 25 riders that are going to train this summer in Europe. And BB Davis of Wellington, Florida, Janae Vaughn.
I think BB is, congratulations. I think she's the number 1 ranked North American young rider, is she not?
Yeah. I think that's right. So
Yeah.
super excited for her that she's going to go and train. And Janae Vaughn, Aiden Uhler, and Sierra Kessler are all going to Europe to train and to compete. So we've had lots of those guys on the show, and also wish them luck as they go on their European journey to get some experience. So that'll be
Cool.
fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. Well, Phil, right after this commercial break, and we are actually going to introduce EcoVet. Glenn and Dr. Wendy from the Driving Show had a chance to catch up with the founder of EcoVet, Dr. John, about their first fatty acid fly repellent for horses. So enjoy this interview, and we're going to learn something. Love it.
Well, Wendy, you have been doing a product review for us that Dr. Tim, who's on here with us, had sent you a product to test out, and it's called EcoVet, and it's a fly repellent. Tell us, and let me tell you, Wendy lives in Sarasota. That's southern Florida. We have bugs you can't imagine in Florida. So how did it work?
Well, for me, I think it works great. I was actually really surprised at how quickly it worked on the gnats, because down here in Sarasota, we have a real problem with gnats and mosquitoes, because, it doesn't get cold enough to kill them off. So all times of the year we have mosquitoes, and my horses, I have two that really suffer with sweet itch. And so they have to live like vampires because they can't be out at dawn and dusk. And then they start that horrible itch scratch cycle. And, even if I get the gnats off of them, if they start the itching and the inflammation in their skin, they just can't stop scratching. And so I started using this, especially on my little baby horse's ears, because he just rubbed his ears raw last year. And there was nothing I could do to stop him from scratching. And this has worked so great. And I did a little experiment because I was grooming one by the fence, and the other ones, of course, all stand there staring at me. And we have some cows in the neighborhood, so I have some of those cattle flies that surround their eyes. So I sprayed it on their face. On one of them's face, I put the EcoVet on, and just like I wiped it on my hands and then rubbed it on his face. And then I put my regular pyrethrin-based fly spray on the other one. And of course, within 5 minutes, the flies were back on the other one. And this EcoVet lasted I was grooming for 30 minutes. So my experiment wasn't so good because I didn't stay around a time till how long it lasted. But I noticed a big difference, whereas it wasn't just oh yeah, this stuff works.
Well, Dr. Tim, what makes this EcoVet different than other fly sprays out there?
Well, I think Dr. Wendy really hit it on the nail on the head, because it's not a pyrethrin or pyrethroid. It's not an essential oil. It's a totally new set of ingredients, and they're food-grade fatty acids. And some basic research was done about 20 years ago by a scientist that was looking at why mosquitoes attack and what they do, and he was actually trying to develop an alternative for DEET for the Army. And what he found was that certain compounds really repel. And in these groups of compounds, he found these fatty acids that really repel well. And interestingly, they repel at higher concentrations, but they're actually insecticidal at lower concentrations too. So it's an interesting compound that actually repels and kills the flies and the chelacoides. And we know the chelacoides are a big issue. And so it was really neat to hear that it works so well for Wendy.
Well, how often do you have to put it on? I love these fly sprays, by the way, that say good for 10 days, which is a crock of crap. I have never seen a fly spray I haven't had to put on every day. I don't care if they say 10 days or not. That's just crap. So, so how often do you put EcoVet on?
I think every 1 to 2 days. If there are horses that are particularly prone to having problems with sweet itch, I really recommend twice a day. And, that's because they just can't afford to have any landing at all. It just really sets off that inflammatory reaction that Wendy was talking about. And once it gets going, boy, that's a challenge, in doing that, because they're so allergic.
And I
Yeah,
have
once it starts, it's almost impossible to stop. So you need to stop it. It's just like the flea control with the dogs, when dogs with hot spots. If they get bitten by one flea, that's it. They're going to be scratching all the rest of the month. And just like with the horses, if they get bitten by the gnats, they're going to start the sweet itch cycle, and it's going to be impossible to cure that year.
Right. And we've had some pretty exciting results clinically from our hospital and some neat success stories of horses that have never had a year without it. And, that they're bundled up, they're wearing the sheets, they're trying everything. They're the vampire horses, fly sprays. They try SWAT, they try fans, they try everything. And this is the first time some of them have actually had a mane or a tail. And that's pretty exciting that they're able to do that.
I kind of look at it like the stealth. It kind of makes your horse like a stealth fighter, because really what it does, I mean, that's right, because it really makes your horse kind of invisible to the insect.
In a way, and that's kind of the mechanism, is that we never know exactly how things work when they're doing it, but it does seem to confuse the bug's ability to navigate. And so you can actually watch them fly into the zone, because it's kind of a repellent, it's a spatial repellent, and you watch them fly into the zone that as it's evaporating off of the horse, and you see them, they kind of fly in and get confused, and they can't figure out where the horse is, and they fly away and eventually die. So it's kind of an interesting mechanism in how it works that way.
Interesting. So now, how's it come? How do you buy it?
Well, there's a couple of different things. We're a new company this year. We're just expanded nationally. We were just regional in the Pacific Northwest last year, so we're making our inroads. Dover does sell it for us, and we're pretty excited about that. We're making contacts throughout the industry. There is our website too, and so right now the website may be the most reliable way of doing it, but like we said, Dover is a big account that does ship nationally too, and able to get the things out. We're really hoping to get it locally to a lot of people as soon as we can too, through our distribution network.
And that's eco-vet.com. Is that the website?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, the one thing we should warn people about is the smell, because they're gonna encounter that right away. So we'll warn them about that. Now, the odor that it has, it's not your typical fly spray. So explain that.
Part of it is where it comes from, and they're food grade fatty acids, but they're actually derived from palm kernel oil, and so you have a real coconutty type of smell. And actually, one of the Latin name for one of the fatty acids is caprelic, and that caprine is goat, and it does kind of smell strong. So there is a strong, very different smell. Now, we do have a fragrance that goes along with that to try to help alleviate that a little bit, but it's just a very different, strong scent in doing that. So
Glenn, that's why I love it and you don't love it. Because it's goaty. I love that goat smell. I have goats.
Yeah, she has goats, so that maybe explains it.
And I love the smell of it. I think it smells great.
It's one of the things I've noticed, that either you love it or hate it. There's not going to be an in-between. So, but one thing I think...
Well, if it works, that's the most important part, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, that is the most
I like that
part.
it doesn't smell like chemicals. I hated that Skin So Soft stuff, because it gave me a massive chemical headache whenever I got even close to it. And this, I mean, it does have a strong smell. And actually, it's funny that you say that, because I did not know it was the goaty smell, but there was something familiar about it, Right. But it just, it doesn't smell like chemicals to me, which is what I like about it.
Good.
Well, okay, so you can find it at eco-vet.com. You can also find it at Dover. It seems to be price point about the same as other kind of high-end fly sprays, right? I mean, that's where I've seen it. And then you can buy it spray bottle. You can also buy the replenishment bottles as well, up to a gallon, from what I saw. So you can definitely accomplish your goals, no matter whether you have one horse or a whole herd out there. Either way, and that's called EcoVet. It's eco-vet.com.
Well, Well, we had, and as you know, we always ask for listeners' questions, and we got a great listener question about bidding. And we have our expert Beth Haste from the Horse of Course. She's a good friend of Philip and I use her myself. So does Phil on bidding. And I think you'll really enjoy this discussion about bidding and learning more about that. Well, tonight I am so excited to have Beth Haste from the Horse of Course. Beth is a dear friend of ours, and she really is an amazing bidding expert. And I'm so happy that we had a listener write in, now the year of the listener, that we had a listener write in with a bidding question. So we could call Beth and talk with her about this particular problem. So Phil, can you fill us in with the listener question?
Okay, well, we got a few questions here. I think we'll just start with the first one here, Beth. What is your opinion on a single versus a double jointed bits?
I think if you feel your horse's bars underneath his jaw, they're so narrow, but they usually have really fat top lips. And with a loose ring snaffle, unfortunately, you have to get a big enough bit that will go in their mouth and not pinch the corners of that big fat top lip. But what happens is if it's a little too big, it slides back and forth in their mouth. And what happens is that the three-piece ends up sliding back and forth across their bars. And sometimes they're more comfortable in a two-piece because if it slides, that joint doesn't slide across the bars as much. So sometimes where you'd think a horse would absolutely love a three-piece, nice soft bit, they don't, because that huge top lip that they ended up getting maybe too big a bit for, you have to look at that bit when it's in the on position. In other words, gather up the reins. Pull that bit up into the horse's mouth like you put him on the bit, and then look and see how it fits. You can't look at it when it's just hanging there. So you want to look at it when it's all gathered up on the reins, and then the mouth should just be inside that hole that the ring goes through. And if you do that, they might be really happy in that three-piece.
All right. So sometimes you just have to sort of test it out, see what the horse likes.
Right. And not get it so big. I think a lot of people get a bit that's too big.
And so, Beth,
I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, so that's a question I have is I'm so lucky that whenever I need a bit, I ask you and we measure the horses what size the horse needs. But if you don't have access to someone, how do you? I mean, you walk into a tack shop and it's incredibly overwhelming to decide what size bit. Number one, what size. Number two, what type of bit. So how would you kind of help people size a bit? What's the best way to do that?
Well, generally in a loose ring, the average horse probably takes a 5 1/4.
Okay.
If they've got a little bit wider mouth and a really extra thick top lip, which they all seem to have today, it doesn't seem to make a difference what breed they are. Maybe you go to a 5, but when you put it in their mouth, you need to gather that rein up on both sides and pull it up into the horse's mouth to see how it's actually fitting. Because if you just let it hang there in the off position, it looks like maybe you need a bigger size. And that's what happens to people, is they end up buying something that's too big. And then that three-piece, which is supposed to be soft and lovely, is sliding back and forth through the horse's mouth across their bars, because it's just too big. And when in doubt, a fixed cheek bit, like an egg butt or a D-ring or a full cheek, actually can stabilize in the horse's mouth. And believe it or not, most warm bloods would take a 4 3/4 inch fixed cheek bit.
Yeah.
That's how small their mouths are.
Yeah, well, it seems like the conformation is going towards a sort of a smaller head and a very small nose.
Yeah, but they still have this huge top lip.
Yeah, a lot
so
of
in a
lips.
loose ring, you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
I think what we kind of lose sight of is that a loose ring bit is really what they call a dressage bit. And dressage doesn't really start until third level.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Almost
So
when we're
most-
starting to think about fitting a double.
Yes, that's right.
But it really isn't. That's when you're really talking about dressage at third level. So really, at training level and up, really maybe the horse should be in a fixed cheek.
Mm-hmm.
It's
All right.
less information to their head. You can get the bit stabilized. You can ask the horse, "Hey, just go here and stay here," and you get such a great reaction. I have it selling more egg butts than ever before.
Yeah. I see them
Because
in
it
the doubles
really is
more now
easy.
too, right?
Well, and I
Well,
even ride. Yeah.
Yes, in the doubles, but you really need to have the horse on the aids.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you really need to have them accept the contact. And I find that it works better for most amateurs to be in like an egg butt.
Mm-hmm. Well, we put
But it needs to be small.
yeah, we put Elancore. He was one of those. He came. I saw the bit. They rode him in Europe 2 years ago, and
Right.
we bought the bit. And I had Beth. I kept saying, Beth, I think. Oh my gosh! But he has a super tiny mouth. But he goes in a fixed piece bit, snaffle, and actually in the double. We ended up putting him the exact same bit in the double, and it was the first horse that I've really done that over the years with. And I mean, he loves it. And I tried a loose ring, and it was a disaster. He did not like
Yep.
it. Didn't like it.
Well,
And
all young horses should actually be in a fixed cheek. There's no question about that. When you start a young horse, it should always be in a fixed cheek. Because there's so much more information that goes from your hand to the horse's mouth in a loose ring, and you lessen the information with a fixed cheek bit. And the horse can't take all that information. They're not ready for all that information. And also, if you have an amateur that maybe their hands aren't as quiet or effective as they should be yet, you put the horse in an egg butt, even if it's more trained, and then all of a sudden the horse is going to go more round, more on the aids for the amateur, because there's not too much information going from the rider's hands to the horse's mouth.
Okay.
So you get
That's
a
a good
better
thought.
result.
That's a good thought. Now, this leads us sort of towards our next question. What do you think about the horses going in an egg butt versus to a boucher bit where it's not directly attached to, there's a little bit of leverage?
Well, boucher is really in the same category as an egg butt in the fact that it's a fixed cheek bit. A D ring, an egg butt, a boucher, and a full cheek are all fixed cheek bits. So you're still going to lessen the information so you don't get too much information going down. And with the boucher, you get one little added where you get a nuance. And I'm going to tell you, it's a nuance of added pole pressure. Not a lot, a nuance. People think that maybe it's really strong, but it's not. It just gives a nuance of feel to the horse to give a little bit in the pole.
Okay.
And Beth, how would you decide to use that bit? I mean, why would you say, we're going to try the boucher or the boucher? What would make a person choose that?
Well, some horses artificially carry themselves a little high. And what we want to do is lower the pole. And a boucher actually gets the horse to lower the pole and stretch a little bit more over the top line. So you see some Arabs that kind of carry themselves a little artificially high. You'll see some Morgans that carry themselves a little artificially high. And maybe some Lusitanos or Spanish horses. And what it does is it gets them to stretch more over that top line and lower that pole a little bit. So if you're looking for a lowering of the pole, that's the bit to go for.
Got it.
All right.
Got it.
So lastly here, we've got the situation of our listener that sent us this email. She's riding an 8-year-old Clyde Hackney, schooling at training level. She's owned him for a year and a half. The horse was previously trained Western. So she says that he hides away from any sort of contact, not taking not taking the bit as much as she'd like. I think he's a little bit behind the bit. She's
Right.
taking lessons, ridden him for a year and a half, I guess. So, and he's going in a medium thickness egg butt snaffle. So, do you think? What do you think about the situation that we've got?
I personally think the egg bud is a good choice.
Yeah.
I know one thing that I like copper-based bits. I know they're more expensive, but they warm to the temperature of a horse's mouth. And I like a 3-piece egg bud versus a 2-piece.
Okay.
My choice would probably be either a Springer or a Neue Schule. 3-piece egg bud, really small, like a Verdun, and like a 4 3/4. And because it's going to give the horse everything that you can possibly throw at it. And then I would make sure that the horse is moving up, moving over his back, the saddle fits, and keep pushing him more forward. But it will be a bit that's not going to give him too much information. And I think it's a good choice, but I would, if at all possible, if they could go to a copper-based bit. And when I say a copper-based bit, it's got to be 70% copper or better in order to warm to the temperature of a horse's mouth. And a 3-piece, if you can get it nice and small and stabilized in their mouth, is going to be really soft. And the answer with this horse is as soft as possible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he takes the contact.
That sounds
Choice
like good
Because he's
advice.
a little afraid of the contact.
Yeah.
Because in Western, he's always been ridden with a curb chain.
Right.
Right.
So it's a little bit different. So Beth, I have
Right.
another
and they
question.
don't take contact.
Right. And so Beth, I have another question, sort of the other end of the spectrum. If you have a horse that's super strong and wants to pull you out of the saddle, where would you start bidding wise?
There is a bit that Neue Schule makes, and I don't work for a bit company, but I do admire when they make a nice bit. They make a bit called the Verbinden, and it's really great to get a horse a little bit off pulling you out of the saddle until you can get him a little stronger behind, and he gets a little quicker behind so he can carry himself a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But that Verbinden works in about 20% of the horses, but it's usually horses who are strong to the contact. And it lightens them up a little bit, gives them the idea of where we want them to go. And then, of course, it's up to you to get them a little stronger behind and a little quicker so they can carry themselves a little bit better.
Yeah.
I second that.
Yeah, I've used that bit. Yeah,
too.
that's a
I
good bit.
really like it. Yeah.
I've called Beth
Yeah.
with this very specific question saying, help me, what can I do? And I think it's right. I mean, I think you've mentioned it several times, and that is bidding can help, but it's not
It's
always.
not a solution. Yeah, it's not going to fix your problems.
Yeah.
It's
I
also,
mean, it's like a tongue issue. A tongue issue is always a straightness and tension issue.
Mhm.
But once we get that dialogue going, you can be surprised how we can fix the issue.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all a learning. And Beth from The Horse, of course, is fantastic. She is great with answering these questions. You can call her and say, Beth, help, and she will help you.
Yeah, for sure.
And I can take all emails if they want to email me on a question.
Great. Beth, what is your email address? You were right on it. You knew where I was going with that.
Yeah, it's Beth@thehorseofcourse.com.
Easy.
Fantastic. Well, Beth is an awesome resource, everybody. She's dear to us, and but she really, really can come in handy if you have some issues with your horses. So, Beth, thanks so much for coming on the show, and we look forward to next time.
Thank you so much for having me. Great talking to you both.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was a great discussion with Beth. And right after this commercial break from Kentucky Performance Products, we're going to come back with Katie Poag, FEI rider and trainer from Charleston, South Carolina.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
The horse that matters to you matters to Kentucky Performance Products. Electrolytes. Who needs them? Your horse, that's who. Electrolytes perform critical functions within your horse's body. They help regulate nerve and muscle functions by carrying electrical impulses between cells. In addition, electrolytes assist the body in maintaining a healthy fluid balance by controlling your horse's desire to drink. When your horse loses significant amounts of electrolytes and fluids, problems such as dehydration, muscle cramping, fatigue, tying up, and colic may occur. Even in mild forms, these conditions can have a negative impact on your horse's ability to perform and recover after exercise. Top riders and veterinarians turn to Summer Games Electrolyte to keep their horse healthy in hot weather, and you can too. Summer Games replenishes the electrolytes and trace minerals lost when your horse sweats, and it stimulates the thirst response so your horse continues to drink and stay properly hydrated. So when the going gets hot, trust Summer Games Electrolyte from Kentucky Performance Products to protect your horse.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com.
Well, as always, we have a friend of the show, Katie Poag, on. Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we are super excited because not only are you a good friend of Phil and I's, but you got the invitation to go to the test event for next year's World Cup in Omaha, and you are currently in Omaha, Nebraska, right?
I am currently in Omaha, Nebraska. I think somewhere almost in the middle of the country, far from Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, how long was the trip?
We spent, I think it was 12 hours the first day and overnight in Paducah, Kentucky. And then we finished the trip, I think it was 11 hours the next day, and spent the night at a farm about 30 minutes from the facility, or from the CenturyLink Center, the second night. And then we all drove in to the center. I think we were allowed in around 11 o'clock. And they were trying to get the dressage horses unloaded first. And so yeah, it was a fun, wild trip. Once we got to Omaha, we ended up coming over here the night before just to kind of check out where we would unload. And they had an area behind a big center, a big coliseum that has, like hockey games and concerts and college basketball games. I think they're doing like swimming championships and gymnastic championships for the Olympics coming up. So a lot of stuff happens here. And so we all kind of lined up in the back, and they had a kind of a ramp into the building, and everybody unloaded all their stuff, and they had stalls set up, and that was kind of the first start of the adventure.
Wow, and that's crazy. It is. I have actually been there one other time. I did the Nebraska Horse Fair, and I drove by
cool.
that Coliseum. It's huge. It's a huge Coliseum.
Yeah.
And have you guys gotten down? Have you gotten in the ring yet?
We have. They gave us schooling time. We got to ride yesterday evening, or I guess it was the afternoon. And they had the arena set up, and it was wild because there's huge jumbotron that you could actually see yourself riding in. But it was, it's huge. And then we did the jog that evening, and got in this morning. And then the rest of the day today they have the Hunter and Jumper show going on, and then our Grand Prix class will start tonight at 6. And then we all ride the freestyle tomorrow evening.
So what's your time tonight? What time do you go?
Tonight I ride at 7:37.
And I think it's live streamed, right?
I think it's live streamed. We're an hour behind for Central Time, or an hour behind my normal time. So yeah, I think everything's live streamed, and there are 9 of us doing the Grand Prix. So it's a fun group, and I think everybody is really enjoying just the whole atmosphere and the environment. They seem to have things really well organized. It's pretty cool. The hotel is attached to the center, so we can walk across like
great.
a skywalk.
Nice.
And just walk over to the hotel, and there's food and everything there, and then you can walk back, and like last night we were walking back, and it was, you're looking at a coliseum and going, wow, my horse is over there.
That's crazy.
So everybody has just been really great. The whole group from Global is here, and I got to do a few CDIs this year at Global, and then did the first CDI in Tryon just 2 weeks ago, and then came here. So it's nice to have familiar faces, and it feels very comfortable. And I think everybody's trying to make sure things are going as well as they can, and so far so good.
Awesome.
So how did the stallion go at Tryon? Because I didn't even look at the scores for that or anything.
He did well. I felt like we had a super warm up on both days, and we did the Grand Prix, and then we did the special, and even that facility is a larger, more open, a lot of energy. That was the first time he had been there, so kind of unfortunately for me, he was a little bit looky at some things. And I think as we go to that facility a little bit more, he'll be totally fine. There are just a couple things that kind of caught his eye. But it was great. I mean, that facility is going to be fun to have up and running for sure. And then just it's been amazing to be invited to come out here to the CDI 4-star as kind of the dress rehearsal for the World Cup. And just, I've seen a couple shows in Europe, and then, when I was a kid, watched the horse show in Madison Square Garden and seeing, a coliseum that hosts a horse show. But this is the first time I've ever been to a non-horse facility that is hosting a giant horse show inside. So it's just, different energy. It's really cool. Everybody's been super friendly and helpful, and I think all of us are sort of in the same, we've ridden in indoors and things like that, and championship places and some stuff, but this is just a little different. And it's really, really cool.
And Katie, tell us real quick, a CDI 4-star, you have to be invited, correct? You can't just show up.
Yes. So there were 9 of us that were invited to this, and so we're all participating to kind of make sure, as far as I know, that everything can run the way that they want it to run. And if there are any kinks and things, they get an idea of how it runs, so that for next year they can really have it all together. I think things so far are very well organized. The other thing that we are helping to test is the new FBI degree of difficulty system, and it's for the freestyles, and it's a program that Thomas from Global and Daniel, I believe his last name is Golden, the technical developer, and the Hippo Data and FBI put together a computer program that you go through the FBI system and sign in, and basically put your freestyle floor plan to like a written version. And they are trying to make sure that the degrees of difficulty in your test are controlled in a way that you can get rewarded. So they have
if I understand it, you put your choreography in, and then it spits out a number, something that says how difficult
it
analyzes your pattern.
It gives you kind of some options. If you were to do difficult transitions, certain things count fractions of a point that would get added together, like in your degree of difficulty. Or if you had certain combinations of things, it's trying to, as far as I understand, it's trying to look for things that a normal freestyle test maybe wouldn't catch, or would give you the most benefit in your score if you had, 3 difficult movements in a row. If you did like extended canter to a double pirouette to a line of ones down the center line, one-handed. I mean, something like that, where
Yeah.
you can group a few things together, and then over to the side, it kind of has some points. Obviously the harmony of your freestyle, that your freestyle is appropriate for you and your horse, is the main goal, and that nothing, that you're not trying to do, as we all know, super difficult things that you can't achieve just to try to get the score, because if you don't get them, you're not going to get your score.
Yeah.
But I think it's a way that, so far seems that it's just trying to make sure that the details of the difficulty in the test are kind of kept track of and rewarded. And so, it's in one conversation, it's kind of, to me, hard to explain the whole thing, but that sort of seems like the gist. And so we met with the technical developer today and went through kind of the choreography, the routine, and went through things. And he said, this can move here. He helped put it together, and then basically it gets, if we want a printout, we can get a printout. And then the judges, I believe, all get a printout, and then somebody will be there, and eScribe will be there and be plugging stuff in. So it'll be really interesting to see the kind of how the whole system works. And again, it's just a part of one score of your whole normal scoring of the test and all the things like that. So all that, I believe, is still the same. This is just for the degree of difficulty.
That's cool. I didn't even know that was happening, to be honest. We talked about it briefly right before we got on the air, and I had no idea they were doing it. So is that going to be a requirement for all riders to put their test in this program, or is it still, I mean, obviously you guys are the guinea pigs, but once it goes sort of live, does everybody have to do it, or?
I think it's still kind of in the beginning stages. I believe it's going to be in some Western European league shows. And then I think the big thing is the start of this for next year's World Cup. And then after that, I'm not sure how much more, if it's just going to be larger events. Not sure where it's going to go, but,
will the printout go like up on the Jumbotron, or is it just really for judges and riders?
I believe it's just for the judges and riders. I don't know if they'll have, like at normal shows where you have like the score by score popping up on the screen. That I don't know. So that would be interesting if that happened.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
That might be a question that I'll ask if we'll have the scores popping up as we're going along.
So tell us about your freestyle.
I've done it once before, so this was kind of a fun jump in and do it and really get it going, and to put the degree of difficulty system to it and kind of see. And it's a fun arrangement of some music with kind of a little bit of some Justin Timberlake and a little bit of some hip hop stuff. So to me, it's a lot of fun, and hopefully it's crowd entertaining and pleasing. And it's to me, some fun music. And it'll be really cool to ride it here. And we had to do little rider bio TV little interviews that I'm sure will pop up on the jumbo screen, like when we're coming in or something, that we had to, say, hi, my name's Katie Poag, and I'm from Charleston, South Carolina.
Nice.
Yay!
So, we're all going to be on TV and the Jumbotron, I'm sure. So it's really cool. I mean, it is, I feel really excited and honored to be in the group that's here. And, it is kind of like a kid in a toy store or something.
Right.
That, it's very different. It's really cool. It's kind of like you wish everybody was here to come and watch and see this place. And I think the city itself, seems to be a good place to hold these events. I mean, obviously they have concerts and big things here. They have like the baseball field where they host like the NCAA men's college championships every year. They have like this, I think, park that goes around. You know, people are out jogging. I mean, it's a really nice city and seems like it can handle something like this. So that's really cool too. You know, that they've been handling stuff. You know, it's not like it's just a brand new, no one's been here and doing stuff. I think they've had a couple hundred jumper shows at this facility, and some things like that. So this is, I think, the first dressage group here. And so, yeah, so it's
awesome.
It's
it
pretty
sounds
cool.
like fun.
Great.
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
When is the freestyle?
The freestyle's tomorrow. I think the class starts at 4.
Is that Friday at 4?
Friday at 4.
Okay.
And then we'll get our times drawn this evening after the Grand Prix. And it's just the Grand Prix and the freestyles because they wanted to, you know, check the sound system and do all that. And so we're all 9 of us doing the Grand Prix and then the freestyle. We're not doing the special.
Awesome.
Well, I'll have to get online. Yeah, I'll have to get online.
We'll have to get online and check and watch for sure.
Cheer you on.
Awesome. Well, Katie, thank you so much for being on sort of our on-site reporter, and you're going to ride here shortly. So thank you for coming on and taking your time. We're interviewing a little bit early because you're going to be in the ring when we're recording our normal time. So we're going to have to stop and watch. But as always, thanks so much. And Katie, how do our listeners find you online?
I'm at Katie Poag Dressage at yahoo.com. And you can email me or anything. And no, thank you for having me on. And again, like I said, I'm really excited to be here. It's a great group, and hopefully everybody will come and watch the World Cup next year. It seems like it's going to be pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, we'll be there for sure. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you, guys.
Well, we wish Katie luck, and as we're recording, she's about ready to go on the ring, so fingers crossed for her, as always, for our other friends competing in Omaha this weekend. And right after this break from Dr. Rose's Remedies, Phil and I are going to come back with the Total Saddle Fit Tip of the Week.
Dr. Rose's Remedies Skin Treatment Salve and Spray are 100% all-natural products. They are anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal. Dr. Rose's are made with all human-grade ingredients and are safe and effective for treatment for all manner of cuts and scrapes on your horse. And Dr. Rose's is the must-have product here at the Horse Radio Network headquarters to keep PT Scooter's delicate white pasterns free from dew poisoning and scratches. Ask for Dr. Rose's at your local tack store or feed supplier, or visit them online at drrosesremedies.com. That's drrosesremedies.com. This week's dressage training tip is brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, home of the shoulder relief girth at totalsaddlefit.com.
Well, Phil, we have a great tip for the Total Saddle Fit Tip of the Week. And I think you posted it on Facebook, and so did I. So we both felt like this was kind of a fun topic to talk about. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a great little article brought to us by horsenetwork.com. There's lots of great stuff on a lot of these sites that we read, and then you repost it on Facebook. And so I'd like to think about bringing some of these things to the show when we both like the articles. And this one is about the 5 qualities of a coachable rider, which, most of our job as horse trainer is actually not training horses.
Yeah,
we both spend
people
a lot of
training.
time, coaching riders who want to compete and want to be in the show ring. And I think the more that people understand what they should bring to the lesson, makes our jobs easier and makes just success and reaching goals a lot easier. So maybe we should talk about these this week.
Yeah, I love it. So we're going to start with number 5. And number 5 of the 5 qualities of a coachable rider is discipline. Discipline is another way of saying you have the skill of self-control. You can apply order to your daily tasks, even make yourself do things you really don't want to do. 1 or 2 hours a week with a coach will not turn you into an effective rider. Coaches love students who come back for the next lesson having applied some of their learning on their own time. This is perhaps the hallmark of a coachable student and one who is able to coach themselves. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think, both you and I take lessons as well. So it's not like we are, and I think that's incredibly, I'll throw this out there. Your coaches, just because we're professional riders, doesn't mean we don't have trainers. We do. And I think it's always important. We've talked about that on the show. But the discipline is not just, for our own riders, it's for ourselves as well. And I think discipline is incredibly hard. Discipline from it's raining, it's cold, I don't really want to ride today, or, there's just all kinds of things. And I think that sort of discipline is a huge hallmark. I think it's of dressage riders in general.
Yeah. I mean, it's just through practice that we get better. It's not, it's not magic,
No.
Most of what makes a good rider is hard work, not talent.
Right.
So I think that, like you said, whether, if you're having a bad day or whatever, you've got to do something of your homework, sort of every day. I like the horses. The horses in full work, I would consider, 5 or 6 days a week. So, getting out there when it's inconvenient and getting out there when it's, when you don't feel your best is, just do something of the homework to come to the next lesson, having, given it a full effort. And, if you're a weekly lessoner, then, I think you have to have, at least 4 rides in between to get the most out of that lesson. And then to be able to maybe come to the next lesson to discuss your problems or discuss things. But if you're not doing any, the homework, then you're going to get the same lesson every week for months on end.
No, it's true. And just discipline and also I think you can take that in discipline, not only just in the riding and in doing your homework, but discipline in figures. Dressage riders are way into figures and, doing, making sure your 10-meter circles are 10-meter circles.
Details.
Yeah.
Discipline is about, riding all this details.
Making sure you're going into your corners.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's also part of the discipline of a dressage rider is all of those little details because, yes, you can do it once a week or twice a week in your lesson, even every day. But what happens is you've got to be able to go and do that so that when you go to a horse show, you're super able to take care of all of that. So I think that's a great one. And I think that I always strive in being more disciplined, I mean, I'm pretty disciplined, but I'm like, oh, I can always be better there. So
yeah, for sure.
The
next
4.
one up, is willingness, I guess. If you think about it like this, would you rather ride a horse that is difficult or one that is more willing? The willing horse saves your energy and learns at a faster rate. So I think just in general, you're talking about somebody who comes to a lesson and is willing to do new things or try something that might be out of the box for them, or approach something in a different way. I think that's what we're talking about. Willingness. Just come with a very open mind. Blank slate, and just try things, right? And maybe you're trying something that you've already tried before. But hopefully, your coach can help you get through a problem, or just say something in a very slightly different way, and just be open, like I said, open-minded and looking to learn something, when you come to the lesson. So I think that's super. Yeah.
I like that. I like it. Willingness, just openness and willingness. Like, what's going on, and how can I do this, and how can I help? And I think that's important because I think sometimes. I've done it, and I've even done it with coaches maybe that I've had a long time. You come in with a very specific, like, well, that didn't work last week, or this didn't, and I think sometimes that's not helpful to the picture. And so you just have to be willing to listen and try. And, sometimes even as trainers, we're not God, as much as we like to think. No, I'm just kidding. But we're not. And there are times where we're trying stuff too. Maybe
Yeah.
we don't know you, we don't know the horse, we don't know the situation, we maybe don't know what's going on at home in your mind or whatever. So we come in and we try our hardest to kind of figure that out. So that's, yeah. So
Yeah.
willingness.
Yeah, that's a
And I
good one.
think from a trainer's perspective too, just the willingness, I always try to be very willing to listen to my own students and try to listen. It's always a balancing act between sort of my take on things and maybe somebody else. So I think that also from the trainer's perspective, it's important to listen.
Yeah, I think, when figuring out a problem, trainers aren't masters all the time, of knowing what the problem is. So you have to, sometimes I'm working it out while the rider's working it out and the horse is working it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a three-way partnership going on, and I have to do a few different exercises before I can really figure out, exactly what's going on and how to tackle the problem. So I think
Exactly.
a rider that comes to a lesson has to be willing to, just try a few things, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then you can move on, and it's part of the process, working out
Yep.
the problem, especially, dressage wise, and if it's working with a new coach, you have to sometimes just go with the flow and give it your best effort, and that creates dialogue and feedback and things, and then the way through a problem isn't always a straight line. You got to work your way there.
Yeah, it's
in
true.
a few different ways. So, that's a good tip. And what's our next one here?
Yeah, I like it. Number 3, desire. The quality makes itself known as in a myriad of ways. Most importantly, though, desire shows itself in contentment. Are you consistent with your comments and your contentment with your riding and your coach? Are you on time for your lessons? Do you know why you're riding certain things and what drives your motivation? So I think that's super important. I think, we've all been there, like for horse showing. I think it just comes to my head. I have riders that have all kinds of desire to horse show, and they don't mind all the other things that go along with horse shows, because horse shows, we've talked about on the show, they're hard and there's work, and, they're not easy. There's mental preparation and there's time and away and money and all of those things. And then I have other riders with no desire to show and no desire to compete. So I think that desire is an important thing. You've got to know why you're doing something. What are your goals? Constantly evaluating, hey, what are my goals? What am I trying to do at this competition? Or what am I trying to do in my lesson today? I think are all things that are super important.
Yeah, I think it's also good to communicate with your coach as well. What is your desire? What is, why are you doing this? Because that can help them to coach you a little bit better. I certainly approach a rider with a lot of show goals in a different way than I approach a rider that's just looking to learn and to improve their riding in a little bit a different way. So I think you've got to have desire. To be motivated to come to your lesson and to do a good job and to bring the other things to the lesson we talked about a little bit, the commitment and being there and working on your homework and all of those things. So I think if you're going to really improve your riding, you've got to have something that pushes you and drives you to do the work, because again, it's horse riding can be fun and it can be just for pleasure, but I think a lot of a lot of people that we're talking about are there because they have a desire to a real push to get better and to learn and to improve, whatever it is, the shoulder in, that's the real components of competition riding that we teach. So that's good.
Yeah, love it.
What's our next one here? Oh, this is a good one. This is go
ahead.
Our next tip is humility.
Yeah.
So this says the Zen tradition states that the best student is one with a beginner's mind. They say that the notion of expert is tossed in favor of the attitude of a perpetual learner. So that's us dressage riders, perpetual learners, and I think you have to come to a lesson or come to every new problem with humility that you don't know everything, and every horse is a little different, and even though you worked out a problem yesterday and you solved it, sometimes it's not going to be the same every day. Or horses keep us humble, I always say.
Yes, I was just thinking that.
And riding keeps you super humble.
Yes,
and
it
and
does. Yeah.
and dressage keeps you even further along that whatever the next thing beyond super humble is,
Yes, it's so very hard. And I think this humility is really important. I think that's in all of riding because let me tell you, horses have a great way of humbling. We've all seen that kid on the pony and been like, oh no. Ooh. But it's true. I mean, I think that horses are such wonderful teachers and you can ask the top riders in the world and I guarantee they're still learning with the horse they're top in the world with, and then they get another horse, and then you're learning more. And I think you have to be open to all kinds of things in learning.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I was just going to say that horses are so funny because they really just live in a moment, right? And, you can be the best, I always say, like you can be the best rider at home, and do awesome tests when nobody is watching. But as soon as you get in front of somebody or you go to a show and then it's just disaster, I mean, they're just going to keep you humble that way. And, that's just coming into the lesson, be humble. Listen to the instructions. Nobody wants to teach somebody with a ton of attitude, and I mean, I always say that if if you were an expert, you would if you were the best rider in the world, you wouldn't need to come to lessons. So really think of what you want to get out of it, and learning is the biggest thing, and so come with an open mind and be willing to accept new ideas and work out the problems every day with an idea that maybe the yesterday's solution is not today's solution, and keep your mind clear, and every horse is going to teach you something, right? So
every horse, every lesson I try to learn
every day,
every day. And I think that idea of continuing to learn all is so important. To continuing to learn and go to clinics and go to different things. I think that again, you can't ever learn enough, and I think horses teach us all that. So, Phil, the final, which of the number one top 5 qualities of a coachable rider is openness. Are you open to receiving feedback, even when it's difficult to listen to? Are you more likely to shut down or save face? Fear can lock us all up from changing. Some riders can get too invested in playing a certain role in lessons and in essence taking themselves too seriously. Strive to be loose rather than rigid with your expectations. A dash of humor about your weakness can really open the doors to increase relaxation and progress. And I love it. It's so very true. The openness is so important, and just being willing to learn. And we've all had days where you're like, I just can't be super criticized today. And hopefully your coach sort of can look at that and understand. But that openness, we're all, really. I tell people I love to teach. I'm here to teach you. If you want to learn, I'm here. So I think that's super important as well. So
I think the sentence about having a little bit of humor about your weaknesses. I think in dressage, there's a lot of A-type personalities who maybe will criticize themselves too much, right? And then when a coach comes in and says something to you, and then I know that sometimes I do that. Like I already know I'm not awesome, right? I already like it's hard to take criticism a little bit, but I think if you're open. You're willing to listen to the person, but you're also not getting super down on yourself either, right? And just, take a little bit of what your coach is saying and a little bit about what you're feeling, and create a little dialogue, a little context. Sometimes coaches say things, and you might take it the wrong way. But make sure you're really trying to understand, where the comment is coming from, where the correction needs to be made. And that it's not a personal criticism of you as a person or as a rider, but everybody's just in that lesson to get the horse better, get you better, and in the end, try and have some fun, right?
I love it.
Make an enjoyable experience.
We're all out there to have fun. We're not curing cancer, is what I like to say. So enjoy, learn, come to your lessons open, and be in the right frame of mind. If for some reason you're not, let your trainer ride your horse maybe or something.
Yeah. Figure it out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Figure it out. So.
But I
That's
love
good.
it. Well,
I
that
like
was
the,
fun.
I like the tips. Yeah.
Me too. I thought they were great tips. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this week's Total Saddle Fit Tip of the Week. As always, they're super fun to do. And if you have any questions about your saddle, contact Justin at Total Saddle Fit. He's super fun to talk with too and is very, very knowledgeable.
This tip brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, the shoulder relief girth that Reese and Philip both love. And here's why.
The saddle fit solution you have been waiting for is finally here. TotalSaddleFit.com is proud to introduce the Shoulder Relief Girth. This strategically shaped girth actually moves the girth line of your saddle back over 1 inch, thereby freeing your horse's shoulders from the saddle. Traditional girths pull saddles up against a horse's shoulders and often over the top of the shoulders. The shoulder relief girth's recessed ends allow for the billets to buckle into the girth farther back to give your horse unparalleled freedom of motion. We are so certain that your saddle will fit better and your horse will be more comfortable that for a limited time we are offering a 30-day, 110% money-back guarantee. If you are not totally satisfied with your shoulder relief girth, send it back for a full refund plus 10% of the purchase price. Don't wait. Order now for the best saddle fit solution available.
At TotalSaddleFit.com. Visit TotalSaddleFit.com.
Well, everybody, we love listener and Facebook shout outs. And please feel free to keep sending those in. We really like it. And if we don't know the answer, we will make sure we find somebody that does. You can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
The best ways to reach me is through Facebook, or my email is at philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for allowing us to put on a good show, and don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we'll talk to you next week.